Well, the ABC comedy Summer Heights High is a favourite with TV audiences. The satire, set in a school, has introduced us to some pretty unforgettable characters. It's become so popular, real teachers are using it for real discussion in classrooms. But does the program have any genuine educational benefit? Well, Jackie Quist reports.
And I thought like public school girls would be all like skanky bogans and like totally dumb and stuff.
I think it potentially does have a real place in many of our classrooms.
Over there now.
You, miss.
Beg your pardon?
I would be concerned that some young people may feel that this is the correct way in which to refer to teachers or handicapped people.
I try and avoid other cultures at all costs, but at this school...
I'm Asian.
Yeah, no, sorry, no offence to you because you're hot Asian.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Racism, bullying, foul language. Just some of the ingredients that have made Summer Heights High a success.
It is the most talked about TV show in many of our classrooms or in schoolyards nowadays. And given that, it would be an opportunity lost if we didn't use it.
It attracts around 1.5 million viewers each week. But does the school-based comedy have a place within actual classrooms?
By reflecting what's happening, it raises it as a topic for discussion. I don't think it's going to be a behaviour for students to emulate, but as a way into discussing that sort of behaviour, it's a very good resource.
Roger Dunscombe is the Deputy Chair of Australian Teachers of Media. He says the program gives teachers the opportunity to address important school-based issues.
No offence, but I seriously hate all fat people.
Shimei is a classic example of the queen bee bully in a girls' environment who exerts her influence unduly on her peer group. And you can ask the question of the students, well, how would you cope if you were in the peer group with Shimei? How would you cope if you were being picked on?
Kids in the class don't even care because they're doing their work and they're concentrating and it's boring, and all of a sudden they get a joke and they just get a little break from their work and they get to laugh.
Jonah is one of the great tragic comic heroes of Australian comedy, I think. He shows how students can become disconnected from school and how some schools, and in fact many schools, can't cope with a student who's not necessarily intrinsically bad, but who just doesn't fit into that school setting.
I think it does reinforce homophobia, racism, and to a certain extent sexism, and also discrimination against disabled people. And I guess you'd need to be reasonably sophisticated to see that it is a satire.
Child psychologist Michael Carr-Gregg isn't convinced it makes good classroom discussion.
I think this sort of material can be very useful learning, but it all depends upon the teacher and their skills. There are other people who feel that it definitely undermines the values that we're trying to teach in schools.
This tragic incident will obviously lead to a lot of media attention.
We're all in shock from the front office.
Recently, the ABC was forced to apologise when an episode of the program mirrored a schoolgirl's death from an ecstasy overdose.
Annabelle.
I want to get to the truth of Annabelle, who she is, you know, how she became a drug addict.
Despite protests, it aired subsequent episodes featuring similar scenes.
Kieran thinks he's the best breakout in the whole school, but he can't break dance for
Some parents complain the mockumentary teaches children bad habits, blaming foul-mouthed Jonah for deteriorating language.
It won't be compulsory viewing for any of our students. It will be left to individual schools and individual teachers as to whether or not, in terms of their own programs, it has a place and a useful place in learning about media studies or discussing issues.
Mary Blewett from the Victorian Teachers Union admits she is a fan, convinced the show's positives far outweigh the negatives when it comes to the classroom.
It's coming from a satirical or a comedy perspective, and that relaxes people, opens them up to discussion and dialogue, and then we can really delve down more deeply into the issues like stereotypes, racism, bad language, those sorts of issues.